Hey guys, it's Carlos from the Texan Talking Podcast, and soon enough it'll start changing to We're Just Fans Podcast, but still currently the Texan Talking Podcast. Big announcement here, hey! Nonetheless, I am joined here this evening by my two co-hosts. First of all, let's introduce Poppy again. Let him know what's up, Poppy.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Happy to be here.
All right, and of course, you know the one and only Rios. Let him know what's up, Rios.
Oh, it's been a wonderful week in Houston sports.
Oh yeah. So speaking of which, I am actually proudly wearing my. And by the way, this is not a Davis Mills jersey. It's
Thank
a
God.
DeAndre Hopkins jersey. It's a DeAndre Hopkins jersey, and there's a reason for why I'm wearing this jersey today. Monday, the news came out early Monday morning that a certain person was no longer with the Texans organization. Okay, Jack Easterby. Now, we're wondering, how is that important? How is that relevant? Well, it is because for the last 2 years, the Texans have been, is it three? I'm sorry. The last 3 years, the Texans have been under basically the cloud of dust known as Jack Easterby. They've been lost. Cal McNair has been literally under this man's spell, if you want to call it. Because everything, it's almost like it was borderline brainwashed in a way. And we'll get to that right now because it's a good time in Houston sports now that this man is gone. So let me give you the fan perspective. Okay, this is the fan perspective. When Jack Easterby came into the Texans organization, nobody knew much about him. We just knew that he came from the Patriots. That he was like a team chaplain. Is that correct, Rios? Like he was like a team chaplain.
Character coach or something like that, but
yeah,
mainly
like a character coach. Yeah, mainly like a character coach. Something, almost like borderline a consultant, almost in that way. Then the Texans get him, and this is about the 2019 season, right? Or towards the end of it, I can't remember. But they get him. Yeah, just around there. And again, nobody knows much about him. Whatever. You just think it's some guy that they're hiring. Little did we know that this guy was going to end up changing the entire Texans organization in a certain way. Here's what happened. 2020 season rolls along. Texans have perhaps one of the worst seasons, and with at the time an elite quarterback and Deshaun Watson. This is before all the off the field stuff started coming into play. Before anybody knew, well, at least the fans knew anything about the Watson situation. We started seeing certain things with the Texans. We started noticing certain things, and finally, the worst news that you can think of hits the fans, I believe, in the offseason. That is the reason I'm wearing this jersey. The trade of one of my favorite players of all time, DeAndre Hopkins, the guy who's Hall of Fame bound, was set to break all of Andre Johnson's records with in this organization. DeAndre Hopkins gets traded for David Johnson and I think a 4th-round pick. Is that correct?
and a half
And a half sandwich, like Rios puts it. Yeah.
Not a damn thing.
and the second round
still,
pick, but yeah, still it's
probably one of the not probably. It has to be up there with one of the worst trades ever made in NFL history. Because this guy was still in his prime, still is in his prime 2 years later. And he's coming back next, I believe it's next week with the Cardinals, so I'll be looking forward to seeing that. If I'm not mistaken,
got him on my fantasy. Got him on my fantasy.
this week.
I'm excited.
Yeah. a guy that's very team friendly first. Like you could tell that this guy was always for the team, for the Texans. I think he was happy to be here until Jack came along. And the reason for that is because before Deshaun Watson, before we thought we had a legitimate quarterback, we had kind of like what we have now, a quarterback that should just be a backup quarterback. We had Osweiler, we had Brian Hoyer, we had Ryan Mallett, we had TJ Yates. We had quarterbacks, not elite quarterbacks, but we had quarterbacks. And no matter what, DeAndre Hopkins was still putting up points on the board. He was still getting his yards. His stats were incredible, even though his quarterbacks were not good. The only time, if you look back at his track record when he was with the Texans, the only time that his stats weren't so good is when he had Brock Osweiler as a quarterback. That's, I believe, I can't remember. His stats were lower. It's funny because they were lower, but not
954 yards, I believe.
I don't think he reached 1,000 yards in that one. I think every season before that, he reached like at least 1,000 yards. But I think the year with Brock Osweiler, he did not. And that kind of tells you what it is. And he always, no matter what, he always was always down for the team first. And then there was a particular game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. No, not I think it was the Jaguars. I can't remember, where Brock Osweiler gets switched out for Tom Savage, which is another guy that we had, and the crowd cheered. It was crazy. It was crazy times. And then when Deshaun came, and everybody knew that when Deshaun came, he was going to be the starting quarterback. It was just there, and obviously they had started Tom Savage. They said Tom Savage was a starter, which baffled everybody.
Even
Tom Savage over this.
Yeah, even Tom Savage was like, "Wait, what?"
His mother was baffled. Why is my son out there?
Yeah, exactly.
The kid in the Fortress is pretty good.
Correct. And the reason I'm going with that particular side of that story is because I remember they had interviewed, or something happened where it was publicly said by DeAndre Hopkins, and he said, I respect that that's the starter, and I'm sticking with it over Deshaun, right? Obviously, of course, it's PR stuff, whatever, but he was a team guy. He's a team guy. Let's fast forward, that was 2017, 2018, 2019, all that. So then let's go with about 2020. Hopkins gets traded. The excuse that was given to the fans was that DeAndre Hopkins wanted more money, an extension on his contract or something like that. And it wasn't by much. It was maybe a few, I like saying that it's not much, but in football terms, a few million that he wanted. Nothing over the top. It was something that the Texans could have easily taken care of. Instead, they use that as the excuse, and they decided to trade him off to the Arizona Cardinals for that debacle of a trade that we got for him. And the excuse that they gave was only for a few $1 million. But it's funny because that season they ended up extending, at the time, that center, Nick Martin, who's probably not even playing right now, or they overextended him because they thought that was going to be their center. And he's not even in the organization anymore. We're talking about 2 years ago. You extended this man you overpaid him, and he's not even in the organization, but you couldn't afford to pay Hopkins?
And then they signed Eric Murray to that ridiculous contract. Randall ridiculous contract. Yeah. I mean, it goes on and on. And who was in charge of those contracts?
Exactly.
When all of those news were coming out, like every single fan knew, like, this is just they're trying to cover some shit up. Like, this is none of this makes sense. None of this was making any sense to anybody.
Exactly. They weren't fooling the fans. They weren't fooling the fans because we all had a feeling of who was behind it. Yes, they put Bill O'Brien on there as well, where he became like this GM coach and all that. And he gets there. One of the first things he does as soon as he gets Jack Easterby gets there, suddenly our general manager Brian Gaine is out. He's out. Like, within months of getting there. One of the excuses that was given by Easterby, according to Landry Locker, was that Cal McNair just woke up one day and just decided to fire Brian Gaine. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen without something being said or something being, almost like brainwashing McNair by, we pretty much figured who. Every report that has been coming out recently, mainly by the media guys here in Houston, like if I'm in the loop or Sports Radio 610, apparently has something extremely negative to say about Easterby. One of the things I was listening to Landry Locker yesterday in the loop with John Lopez and Landry Locker, and it's a 16-minute bit that I'll share out to because it's such an interesting thing, and I'm obviously going to be paraphrasing what he said because obviously I don't live it. So you always, as a fan, had a feeling that shady things were going on with Easterby and that organization at the time. But you never really quite. Obviously, nothing was ever confirmed until now that he's actually gone from the organization. So Landry Locker came in, and it was almost like boom, all these reports came out about Easterby, and he was talking about it from again. I'm paraphrasing what Landry Locker was saying. He was talking about how Jack Easterby basically would be one of those guys that would take credit for everything and then throw everybody else under the bus in the organization, including Bill O'Brien, including Cal McNair, the owner of the Texans. And apparently that's the kind of guy that he was. He could do no wrong, according to what the reports were saying. One of the things that was upsetting, I don't know if you guys remember, there was an instance when J.J. Watt was still there, where the equipment manager was fired, like the equipment manager, the guy. And apparently, according to this, to Landry Locker, they were like in a meeting in a restaurant, and Jack Easterby was like, I guess, trying to sell himself because apparently that's what he was really good at, selling himself to everybody. And he was basically gloating about how he felt that he knew why the 2020 season was such a disaster. And apparently, according to Landry Locker, he pinpointed it at the Green Bay Packers Texans game when they were playing over there in Green Bay. Apparently that 4 guys, including DeAndre Hopkins, were wearing the wrong pants. And apparently Landry Locker made a joke about it called pants. And so apparently he kept saying that over and over just to get Easterby like mad and make him embarrassed. And apparently it worked, according to Landry Locker. And pants, like that was the thing that caused the 2020 debacle of the season, the pants, the wrong uniform pants. And that was apparently the way that Jack Easterby said that, it was one of those things where, again, Landry Locker said it perfectly. And again, I'm just paraphrasing. He said that, when you're giving a presentation and that's like your home run, like take it home kind of a thing. Apparently that was his big thing. And so after that, according to Landry Locker, that was when he knew that, the equipment manager was fired. So apparently, through the equipment manager, the guy that's the equipment manager, he threw him under the bus. Just the equipment manager guy. And so for him to stoop at that level, to fire the equipment manager and stuff like that, that showed Landry Locker, again, what kind of guy he was or is still, But he could always, he never took the blame for anything. And also there was, he had mentioned that he was gloating, like, wow, took credit about that DeAndre Hopkins trade. Like he owned it. And then
what credit is that to take?
Exactly.
He thought he did a good thing. And then when I saw that it was the worst damn trade in the history of all trades,
he backed away from it. He said it wasn't his fault, that it was on Bill or something else, but he never took responsibility for it. He never took accountability for that particular trade, which again, every fan knew that was the worst thing ever. And this is why I'm proud to be wearing this now, because me personally, I have been silently protesting the Texans Not that it mattered or that I expected it to have like a big impact. I hadn't bought anything from the store, like any merchandise from the actual store. I hadn't gone to the games, like I hadn't paid for any of those games that I went to. They were all either gifts, thank you, or anything like that. But that was my own side. Did it make a dent? Of course it did. But I just didn't feel right paying my hard-earned money to an organization that had basically been tone deaf to the fans at the time when he was there, that it just didn't feel right. After Monday, when the news came out, it felt like a sense of relief. As a Texans fan, it felt like you can come home now. Like it felt, we know we're going to still have a terrible season, but we know we're headed in the right direction. At least you have that. So now it felt good. I can, I can feel proud of my team again. Yeah, you're still a fan no matter what, but you didn't feel that sense of pride. You didn't feel so good wearing this Texans gear. And even for me, I'm speaking to myself here, I just didn't feel like buying any of the merchandise or actually paying my hard-earned money to go to the games to watch the Texans play, knowing that they were under that Jack Easterby tyranny, if you want to call it, like the reign of Jack Easterby there. I just didn't care. And I was just watching football for the heck of it, just to watch football. But I didn't have a team. I mean, excuse me, I'm still a Texas fan it just didn't feel right. So I don't know how you felt, Rios. How did you feel right about that time being a Texans fan like that, or no?
Oh boy, where to start? So I've heard through other people that have access to like some of the staff or whatever. I first learned about how O'Brien really was, I want to say like 5-6 years ago, like hearing something from a friend that, had access to some of the, the coaching staff, some of the people with the organization. I was like, okay, I guess. And then you saw it on the hard, I was like, okay, it makes sense. Then I started hearing rumblings about, I want to say like 2018, somewhere around there, about this Easterby guy that they got from New England. They're like, he's like corny dude. He used to be like a chaplain or like a character, something like that over to New England. But they're like, man, this dude's a snake in the grass, man. Like he's up to something. Those are things I heard back in 2018, 4 years ago, before all this, shit hit the fan, basically. And then I started hearing more and more, and then all this stuff just started happening. Just like guys that we drafted that didn't want to resign with us, which made no sense at the time. But looking back, makes sense. They didn't want to be under the umbrella of Easterby. And then, guys that we like, the Honey Badger, we gave him a chance of redeeming himself on a 1-year deal, did great with us, went to Kansas City for basically the same money. Like, it wasn't even a better offer. And at the time, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it seems like he really loved it here. But again, as time went on, like, okay, there's this guy continuously pushing away talented players that, maybe have character concerns. And then you start hearing these 3 words I never again want to hear in my life put together: tough, smart, dependable. I will have nightmares hearing that phrase for the rest of my life. And they just like, O'Brien and East were just so honed on that damn phrase. And but it's like it seems like at that point they just cared more about culture fits versus talent. And you can tell year by year the rosters are getting worse and worse. The icing on the cake was that Hopkins trade. At that point, that's when I knew this team was done. This organization is going to be set back at least 5 years.
Yeah.
Even with Watson at the time. Even with him at the time, we're going to be set back 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And sorry,
you're missing talent at running back. David Johnson, come on. Did they give him tapes of 2016? Like, what the hell were they watching? Like, what made you think that was a good idea? Besides that, he's a character guy. Because, again, Easterby loved the guy. Easterby was behind it, obviously, because as other reports have come out, he was the main one that pushed for that trade. And then there's no talent at receiver. Like, they got Brandon Cooks, but again, he's not Hopkins. They put up similar numbers, but again, Hopkins has been injured. Kyler Murray's inconsistent. If he would have stayed in Houston, all pro numbers year after year with Watson. I mean, that's not up for debate. And then they didn't upgrade the defense. They didn't they extended guys like Nick Martin, who's probably not even in the league anymore.
Yeah.
Guys like Eric Murray, a career backup, starter money. It's just terrible move after terrible move because culture was apparently more important than talent. And it's where we're at right now. We got to bear another 12 weeks of Davis Mills checking it down to Rex Burkhead. Two Easterby guys, throwing the one Easterby guy throwing the ball to another Easterby guy. Like, I gotta watch this for 2 more weeks. Jesus.
Yeah, it was an awful time, but it's just you wanted to cheer for the team, but you couldn't. Now again, it was almost like a civil war with Texans fans because you have the truthers, the homers, and all that stuff that just decided to show absolutely no accountability for their team, but everybody else on the other side understood what was happening. We're not, I'm including myself on it because I never cared for Jack Easterby and all that stuff that was happening because it didn't seem right. And if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. And that's what it seemed like. There's reports of him just I think who was it? Landry Locker again. He was very informative, by the way. You could tell like the media guys took like a huge a huge breath of fresh air, because it looked like apparently another report that Landry Locker mentioned is that he was trying to write his own narrative in the media. He was trying to control what the media would say. Like one of the instances that Landry Locker said that he would carry his own little notes around with quotes. Yeah, his notes around that he would make, or that quotes, or even like verses or whatever. And he would, and with like stats or whatever, and he would want them to be publicized by the media. It's like almost he could, again, goes back to he could do no wrong. And he always had to make himself look good in front of everything. He gloated about, like I said, the DeAndre Hopkins trade, and then he regretted it like a month later, according to Landry Locker, or a few months later, whatever it was, a short time after that. Let's just say that. Then he tried to take credit for Caserio, for getting Nick Caserio along. But you got to understand that they were trying to get Nick since 2019, but then obviously Bill Belichick blocked that. And, that was a whole tampering issue that was happening at that time as well. So that ended up not working out. And then it looked as if he was trying to get the general manager position from what they were saying. He was trying to get even more control than what he already had. Remember, this guy was hired to be like a chaplain. And then another thing so this next part involves the Patriots. Also, Landry Locker, and I'm sure you heard the story in the rest because we were looking at the video. Yeah. He apparently, so Landry Locker says this, and it makes obviously a lot of sense that I'm quoting Landry Locker like crazy. So he left New England to the Texans because obviously he was getting a much better job, a much better gig, right?
More power.
Right.
More power. According to him, Jack, he said that this is true, according to Landry Locker, and he's sworn it by everything. Jack Easterby said that the reason he left New England was because Robert Kraft wanted him to clone Bill Belichick after Bill Belichick left or retired. And he wanted him to follow Bill Belichick around, take all his notes because he wanted him to basically clone Bill Belichick. That's what, according to Jack, that's what Robert Kraft told him to do. And according to Jack Easterby said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's wrong. So I'm going over to the Texans. In what way does that make sense? If you're going to get a better paying job, are you going to, obviously you're trying to make yourself look good. And Landry Locker says, I'm 100% sure Robert Kraft didn't say anything like that.
Not even
I don't even think Bill Belichick, according to Landry Locker, Bill Belichick also didn't have really positive things to say about Jack Easterby to begin with.
Yeah, he's a personnel guy. He's a character coach. He's not a personnel guy. You're like, why is he in charge of personnel?
Exactly. And then it took a while because remember, every time at the beginning when Nick Caserio got here, he had all these raving positive things about Jack Easterby, but because all of it is PR, right? And Nick is pretty good at deflecting those types of questions, which is actually pretty cool. Clearly has a media training and all that.
That in the word salad, man.
Yeah.
Salad, like, what did he?
Right.
What did he even say?
Yeah. And so then, what the guys were saying, which it makes sense, and the guys again, I mean by in the loop, John Lopez and Leonard Walker, they said that it just had to take Nick Caserio a little bit of time to get to him because Nick Caserio knew him as a character coach, like I said, in New England. He didn't know him at this particular position, the VP of all that. And we didn't know him as that. So apparently, obviously, this all happened. And then much respect to Lovie Smith, because when Lovie Smith came in, Lovie Smith ain't no punk. Like he was like Jack Easterby was put aside. He was put aside, and he had no involvement like he did last year when David Coley was there. David Coley was another one of those guys that was just like a yes man. Like you could tell he was a straight up yes man. We're gonna do better today. We're gonna do better next week. Like that was like David Coley was every time. Like I saw David Coley was like, hey, well, we're gonna do good. I'm telling you right now, we're gonna be great next week and all that. And every time. It was you could see that it was just all fake, which is a representation of what Jack Easterby is in the organization. He's just a fake. He's a snake, according to them. But you kind of saw that as fans too, right?
There. That's Littlefinger right there.
Yeah, and so basically, that's funny. And so that's the thing about Jack. And now. As I was coming back from work, I was listening to other stuff, and then apparently Seth Payne was also involved in all that. He didn't get it. Seth Payne he has a show here too, but he was an original Texan, like one of the first guys to play. He also had negative things to say about Jack. And then the best one, John McClain, legend here in Houston. Legendary, obviously there's things that not everybody agrees with his logic or whatever, but he's still the guy, the main guy here in Houston that does all the reporting and stuff like that for the Texans. Apparently, there was another report again that Jack Easterby would print out his tweets and would ask why. John McClain has legendary status here and with the Tennessee Titans. He's been following the Titans since they were the Oilers here in Houston. He's legendary status. It's almost like tenure. Obviously, you can really touch this guy. And Jack Easterby would print out apparently his tweets whenever he had something negative to say about the Texans play, and he would wonder why we're quote unquote helping this guy out. And as punishment for things like that, remember every interview John McClain usually had the first question. He was the guy that had the first question. Apparently, one of Jack Easterby's quote unquote punishments for John McClain was he took away his first question. He was trying to phase him out, and if you think about it, do you remember like the last couple seasons, it just seemed John McClain seemed a little off on things. It just didn't seem like the regular, out of the blue, like out of nowhere. So obviously you could tell that he was trying to control certain narratives and everything. He was a tyrant, like that's how it was. So now I'm glad that he's gone. And I think John Lopez made me laugh with this quote. He said, this is John Lopez quoting. He said, Jack Easterby did more damage to Houston sports than Bud Adams. And and because
he's not lying.
Bud Adams, he's not lying, because if you think about it, he actually didn't do. The worst thing Bud Adams did was move the Houston Oilers to Tennessee. That's it. However, Jack Easterby didn't do anything for Houston sports at all. Like for Houston Texans, he did not contribute anything at all. And you could tell this apparently the guy that was supposed to be in charge of culture, then if that's the case, if you were supposed to be in charge of culture, then why do all these players have so many negative things to say about you?
They celebrated his firing. Like I have never seen that much union from former players and one person's firing like ever in any sport. Like it's crazy.
If your ideal goal as a culture guy is to get people together, then guess what? Well done. Well done. You got everybody to hate you. Like, you got everybody. J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, the most outspoken person that had nothing to lose in this debacle was Andre Johnson.
The man never talks. The man
never doesn't talk. He never talks. Yeah, he never talks. And guess what? One of the first things he says on Twitter was that Jack Easterby was one of the worst things, that nothing positive that happened since Jack Easterby got hired, which confirmed a lot of the feelings that some of these, that us fans were feeling when Jack Easterby there. So I'm glad that he's gone. It seemed like a poison in the Texans when he was there. From everything that we saw, we heard, I'm just glad that he's gone, and I can proudly wear, and I can actually now proudly go and maybe get an updated jersey and update my Texans wardrobe, because for the last 2-3 years I have not bought any Texans merchandise whatsoever, or actually paid to go to any of those games that I went to. So now I actually feel a little happier doing so. So that's my take on it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So we haven't let Poppy talk at all. Sorry, Poppy.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's been very eye opening, because like, I did not know really who this guy was, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard the name here and there whenever we were talking about Bill O'Brien years ago, whenever that whole debacle was going on, again with the DeAndre Hopkins talks, the early Deshaun Watson stuff, like all of this stuff, like he was the scapegoat, correct? And I was more than glad to give him a piece of my mind every single time I could. But the name Easterby always hung around, but I didn't know who he was. Like, not very familiar with the names over, like, at the top of the chain, except for McNair, obviously. But like, with all this, the interviews and the listening to podcasts and reading the articles, I'm just like, dude, who was this guy? And why would he have so much power over everything, and without getting like checked by anybody? Like, and
great mysteries.
Yeah, looking at the videos and looking at some of the interviews, I'm like, this guy looks like such a tool, dude. Like,
it's Caillou in adult form.
Dude, this is ridiculous. How are we letting people like this run our franchise? And this was a franchise that, we were like, what, a quarter of football away from
AFC championship game.
Exactly, AFC championship game. Like, we were on the up and up, and all of a sudden everything comes crashing down. Like, the very next season, we're trading the DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of chips.
Half-eaten bag of chips.
And I'm just like, so like now finding out like who this guy is and what he's been doing, and like, it just shows me how much the franchise, like, how much crap was going on behind the scenes, more than I thought. I thought, once we got rid of Bill O'Brien, we could start making some moves, and I feel like we have to an extent, but it's ridiculous, man. And now, like, totally listening to you explain like the timeline of events and listen to the story of the whole thing. Like, I just want to know, like, where do we go from here? Where do the Texans go from where we're at right now? What does the end of the season, what was the rest of the season look like? What does next year look like? Like, are we going to start? Because now, like, drafting might be different, right?
Has to be, because before it was culture guys, and now maybe we choose talent over, if he goes to Bible study. Like.
Exactly. So drafting is going to be different. Free agency is going to be different. The way we negotiate our contracts, the people who we're extending, should be different. But like, now who's going to be in charge of that? Like, how do we know we're not just getting another Easterby or whatever? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of uncertainty right now with the organization, more so than I thought there was. So now as a fan, I'm just like bewildered with this whole thing. I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Are we still gonna try to tank? We'll not try. We'll not try, but we're tanking regardless.
Right? Organically tank.
Exactly.
Like the Rockets, organically tank. Be competitive and still lose.
I don't even know. Is it gonna be like a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year process till we start seeing some like progression? Like I don't even know.
It depends on the quarterback situation. If they get their guy next in the 23 draft, it'll be a shorter rebuild. If they wait to 2024, there's no guaranteeing they're going to be able to draft one of the top quarterbacks. And again, there's no telling that class is going to be better than this one. Like, do people say like the QB from UT Ewers, like he's had 2.5 good games, like. Pump the brakes on the hype a little bit. Again, white kid with a mullet with, the sleeve. Oh, he looks like a quarterback. No, like let him have a whole full season of actually playing well before you proclaim him the next big thing. You know what I mean? Like, and
I think Poppy just left.
No, I'm still here. I'm just checking something. I'm listening. I promise.
I've heard about is he looks like kind of like Mahomes. I think his name was like Caleb Williams or something like that. Like he looks pretty good, but again, it's still young. Like not a full season of actually playing at a Heisman level like Stroud and Bryce Young have. Like I need to see more at the weight. My concern is they win enough games this year. Like they win like 5-6 games, and they're outside the top 5. Who do you draft at that point?
Exactly. You know what I'm most happy
to move up in this draft. Like you want to have as many picks as you can because there's.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, you have 2 top 5 picks. You get Bryce Young and you get Will Anderson from Alabama. That's my dream scenario. But again, that's going to not winning more games because except the Cowboys. Beat the Cowboys. Other than that,
beat the Cowboys.
Yeah. You know what makes me happy about this whole Easterby situation though? All right. Remember how we talked about his guys, the guys that he brought in, Eric Murray, Randall Cobb. At least what makes me feel better is that at least I know that Josh McCown, who's a high school coach, will not be in the running for a head coaching position anymore. You remember that? For 2 years, they tried to sell us on Josh McCown, an unexperienced, obviously he's NFL experienced, but unexperienced head coaching position. Wouldn't have worked out the ranks. Wouldn't have come up the ranks like anybody would. Yeah, and then straight to head coach. Like that's the guy that Easterby was trying to sell us on, and obviously it didn't happen because can you imagine that? Like having no disrespect to Josh McCown, but if he didn't come up the ranks like a regular coach, like he was a high school coach for God's sakes. Like what's happening?
Part-time high school coach.
Part-time high school coach. Yeah, and so you wanted this guy. I could see him as a quarterbacks coach. I could see that any day of the week.
Bring him on the staff, cool, but head coach? Like
head coach? That made no sense. And that again goes back to like having the argument, like Poppy said, how did this organization get just completely bamboozled by a guy who just wants to be a character coach in charge of culture and all that. Like,
it starts from the top. Cal McNair. Yeah, that is all Cal McNair.
Exactly. And so I'm glad now that he's gone because now it's almost like eye opening. I'm hoping that the Texans learn from these particular things. And honestly, I trust Nick Caserio. I do. I think Nick is a good thing to have. I hope that they're shying away from the Patriot way.
Please.
Because that doesn't work with the Texans. You have to build your own identity, not try to take it from somebody else. Like
we don't have Tom Brady.
You don't have a Tom
Brady. Unless you have Tom Brady, right? That's the cheat code.
Yeah, unless you have Tom Brady, then yeah. Other than that, and other than that, like you can't claim to be like they never did, but it was basically going in that direction, the Patriots of the South. Like, no, you have to have your own identity.
The Patriots of the South.
The Patriots of the South. Like, it's seriously, yeah, and so it's just like I don't understand how they did something like that. It baffles me. how, again, the organization did it. But you know what? That was then, and this is now. He's gone, and that's a good thing. That's a bright thing to look at, because now what we have to do is, again, I trust Nick. I think the organization is going to go into, the future is bright. We've been saying that a lot lately with with these rookies that we got.
A smidgen of hope right now. A smidgen, not a lot. Smidgen.
Yeah, and there's hope, and I'll take it too. And I'm pretty sure that now that Jack is gone, more fans are going to start showing up.
I'm just hoping that whoever comes in to, take charge of all the drafting and all that stuff doesn't come in and want to change the whole thing,
Well, that's up to Nick, though. Yeah, that's up to Nick, though. Nick is the guy that's in charge of drafting and stuff like that. Now,
I'm pretty sure we're going to have a good coach next year. I'm almost 100% positive at this point.
You don't think they're going to keep Levy next year?
I don't see it.
You don't see it at all?
I think Levy still goes for another 2 seasons. That's my
I would say if I had to put money on it, I would say at least 1 more year.
Okay.
I think it depends on what their philosophy is in the draft. If they're going quarterback, they're going to go offensive-minded coach. They're going to, let Levy be defensive coordinator and bring in an offensive-minded head coach to groom the quarterback if they're going quarterback this year. Now, if they go like Will Anderson with their first pick, then, they probably keep Levy another year and then get another coach that's offensive-minded if they're looking at the 2024 class, which I hope they're not, but if they are, I see that being the route they take, because Lovey's a stopgap. Like he's in his 60s. Like he's had a long career. Like he's not the future coach of the team. Like I honestly see this year, because I think they're picking top 5 with one of their picks, and it's going to be a quarterback. Because again, Mills has not done enough to dissuade this ownership. Like, you know what? Like we need to get people something to cheer about, something to cling on to hope for. And seeing a guy check it down and throw over people's heads is not going to put butts in the seats. Like it's not.
Yeah, definitely.
This is going to be bad for my health.
My blood pressure can't take it.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Yeah, no, for sure. It's I think we're gonna head in the right direction, Rios and Papi. We're heading in the right direction as Texans fans.
I hope so, man. I hope so.
Yeah, I think so too. It's eye opening. Oh, another thing, Seth. That's what I was looking at. Seth Payne, who was again former Texan, original Texan. He's in the first year of when the Texas franchise came about. He has a show here, and he talked about how he would people would tell him that with that energy, how at the time O'Brien, when he was GM, O'Brien and Jack Easterby they couldn't handle the simple tasks. As far as apparently whenever they extended a guy's contract, apparently wouldn't get fired for months after. Just a very things that they were pretty important. They were stumbling upon the easy things, like the filings and all that. So that made it was comical. Yeah, it was kind of so if they couldn't handle that, just filings and stuff like that, or what made me think that's why there's people in charge of certain things. You can't just be a tyrant and just take over everything. That made no sense. It doesn't make any sense. Again, whatever spell, whatever thing Cal McNair was on and the Texans ownership, I'm glad that now they finally opened their eyes to it and they let him go. And I'm glad that it seems like we just woke up from a bad dream, that Jack's gone, and I'm happy about that. Just like every sports fan that believed in this organization and stuck around. If we can stick around through the Jack Easterby times, as Texans fans, I think we can stick around for whatever comes about. I don't know if I can.
We have no choice. Though. We have no choice.
Yeah,
you always have a choice.
We always have a choice, but the thing is this, and it's okay. What I want to say is, it's okay to hold your team accountable. It's okay to talk about your team when they're not doing the best, because at the end of the day, it's your money. It's your hard-earned money that you spent to go buy the merchandise, go to the games, you name it. It's okay to hold your team accountable. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just whenever you sit by and watch the organization just crumble down, and you just accept the fact that that's what's happening.
They're doing great. Mills is next Tom Brady. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
Those guys, man, they raise my blood pressure a lot.
Tell me about it. Yeah. And anyway, so that's the whole Jack Easterby thing. I know we spent like 45 minutes on it, but we probably won't get to the NFL predictions this week. But I just felt like, since this is a podcast dedicated by Texans fans, I thought it was very important that this particular era is over with the Jack Easterby era, and it's basically an important chapter. As much as nobody wants to like look back at it, it's going to be one of those things that will be important in the Texans' history, the Jack Easterby era. Even though it was for like 3 years, it's still a huge chapter in what will eventually, what will define the rest of this organization later on for years to come. All right, so let's segue on to something else.
The reign of terror is over.
The reign of terror is over. Our Astros, we're facing off against the Yanks tomorrow.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
I've seen videos of them chanting, F. Altuve, and we want Houston. Careful what you wish for, Yankees fans.
Dude, I was not like, because their game got delayed till today, right?
Right.
Part of me was thinking, like, watch the commissioner be like, "Oh, we're gonna push back the game 1 date so they can have time to rest," type of thing.
I was thinking the same thing too. Thank God they didn't.
Yeah, thank God they didn't. But at the same time, I'm just like, we've had like all of these days off, and they got some momentum because of their win. I wonder how that's gonna affect things.
Well, they've been drinking in the locker room, so they're gonna be a little hungover tomorrow, and then they won't have Nestor Cortez for a while because he pitched today, so he won't be able to maybe game 4 or 5, and even then, he only pitched once this series, and he's their best pitcher.
I believe.
I think we can rock Garrett Cole, especially if it's here in Houston.
No, I believe tomorrow. Tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, it's what's that guy's name?
Verlander's pitching for us.
Yeah, Verlander is for us. Oh,
for them, I outside of Nestor and Cole, no one in that pitching staff,
really scares me a lot. It's going to be Jameson Tellian. Is that how you pronounce his name? I mean, he did pretty well on the regular season. He's 14-5 ERA of 3.91, so it's not too bad. And the regular season and the postseason, obviously, he lost one of the games against the Indians, but I feel like it should be a good matchup. Like, if Verlander can have a way better game than he had for us on that Mariners series, we should take game 1 easy, I would say.
Game 1 and 2. Because their bullpen is tired, their starters are tired, and you'd be 2-0 going to New York, honestly.
When is game 2? Is it the very next day or is it Friday?
I want to say
game 2 should be. I want to say Friday also. Let me see. ALCS game.
It's Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? Right,
yeah, it's Thursday. So back to back. Yeah.
So we should win the first 2 games.
So New York has no time to rest at all.
So the only rest day they have is Friday, because it goes Thursday. Yeah, it goes Wednesday, Thursday, rest Friday, and then I think they'll fly off to New York on Saturday. Is that correct?
I think they play Saturday.
We play.
Is it? Yeah, no, they play over there at.
New York we play on Saturday. Yeah, we play Saturday.
Saturday. And if we have Saturday and Sunday. So basically, it's like this: if the Astros end up, let's just say hypothetically speaking, if it goes to a game 5. If it comes to a game, I guess 6 and 7 would be here if it goes to that far.
Baseball, it's different than basketball. Basketball, I think it's like the last they switched the last 2 games of the series away and home. I think in baseball it's 3.
It's 2-3-2, right?
Yeah, baseball's 3 on the road. So game 5 will be in New York.
Yeah, game 5 will be in New York.
And then 6 and 7 will be in Houston.
Right. That's okay. So game 6 and 7 would be in Houston, back home, because we do have the home field advantage.
Yes.
And so okay, that makes sense. So okay. That makes sense. So 2 days here in Houston, and then the other day. No, yeah, 2 days in Houston.
Yeah. So Wednesday, Thursday, Houston. Saturday, Sunday, Monday in New York. And again,
and then the rest here.
Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday.
How far do you guys think the series goes?
Honestly, I think I'd take the Astros in 5.
I'm going for the sweep. The Yankees
for sweep,
and the Astros, like again, they've heard the noise all year. Like they want to just shut them up, like they did with the Mariners.
Astros in 5 for me.
I'm gonna side with Carlos. I'm thinking they take a game.
I mean, I'm okay with that, but I'm okay with a gentleman sweep, but I prefer a sweep. And then hopefully the NLCS goes to 7 games.
Yeah,
and they all go like 15 innings apiece.
I hope the Phillies win. Padres look too good right now.
Are you really rooting for the Phillies right now?
No, they scare me more than the Padres do.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
Yeah, I've been watching the Phillies game today,
and they getting hot at the right time. I'd rather them lose.
Exactly. They already hit 2 home runs against Darvish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they're defensively, they're looking really solid as well.
Yeah.
I feel like they have a better. I feel like San Diego has like a really good bullpen though. But offensively, like Rios is saying, like they're just getting real hot right now, the Phillies. So I don't know, man.
Okay, that's very. That's a good point.
It's kind of crazy to me. It's kind of crazy to me that one of those 2 teams, the Padres or the Phillies, will be in the World Series.
Yeah, 2019 Nationals teams that barely made the playoffs and then just got hot at the right time.
Yeah, like if you would have asked me at the beginning of the postseason, I obviously I would have gone like it's either the Dodgers or the Mets. Yeah, and can we just talk about just for a second how much of a fraud the Dodgers are?
I've been saying it all year.
Oh man,
they've beat nobody with a winning record besides the Padres, and even then, the Padres spanked them in the divisional. Like they've been frauds all year. Like 111 wins, and what do you get? Watching the
you get sent home by a tattoo-less San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Best player home because steroids isn't cheating. Remember, guys, steroids isn't cheating.
Yeah, I saw that game like after the 18 innings of baseball that we watched against the Mariners. Clearly, I didn't have enough baseball to watch, and so I watched that one too. And I swung around for a few innings, and then I don't know. I was so happy that the Dodgers lost because they were talking all that trash.
Babies besides Mariners fans.
Oh my gosh, that was insane. I felt like we had one too. I was like, good job. I was happy for the Padres. Honestly, I was like, show them up because the Padres were considered the underdogs. Against the Dodgers, and they've been the win record against the Dodgers since forever has been, not as good, and I just love the fact that they beat them, especially when it counted, when it counted like this big. Yeah, it was just awesome. I was so happy for the Padres. I got nothing to say about the Padres, but good stuff about it. So good job, Padres.
No, just beat the Phillies and lose to the Astros in the World Series, and
exactly
right in the world.
Did you see the message essential about Ohtani? How he's not really happy with the organization.
I seen that. I mean, it was to be expected, man.
He's too good a player to play in a losing organization. Like there's no way he stays beyond next year with the Angels.
Guys, I'm telling you, they really, really need to calm down on Ohtani. They need to punish him. Send him to the Astros as punishment. Send him to the Astros. We'll see what we can do. Send him to the Astros. We'll take care of that. Punish him. Send him to the Astros.
I'll take him. I'll take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Every day on Sundays.
Yeah. We'll send you. Who do we send?
Jake Myers.
I like everybody. No, I like Jake.
Dude, I would personally walk Jake all the way to Anaheim. If that means I can bring back Ohtani. Shut the hell up. What are you talking about? Don't talk to me like that.
I like Jake.
I like Myers. Get the hell out of here.
More than Ohtani?
No, I like Jake, but I'm just saying, like, it's funny. Like, I know, like Otani was for Jake. I'm like, all right, Jake, we love you, but you gotta go. Papi will walk you all the way to Anaheim.
I doubt they turn
Across
into a
that 12-hour
rival, but again, if the offer's right, I mean, never know. You never say never.
I might even give him Verlander if that means we can take Otani.
Yeah, I would too.
We got Farmer.
I'll give him Verlander in a heartbeat.
Verlander for Otani? Yeah. It's a dual threat. It's a dual threat.
I'll drive him and Kate Upton to the airport right now.
Yeah, exactly. Tell him, man. But yeah, dude, it's gonna be interesting to watch. Game one tomorrow. I'm down for that. And finally, we got like the evening games. The MLB loves to give the Astros the early games.
Well, we got the evening games. Why? We're playing the Yankees. It's not anything we did.
Of course.
6 straight ALCS doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
They're the MLB's babies. Can't nothing. The Yankees can do no wrong, according to the MLB and Rob Manfred.
Oh, when they lose in 4 games, If Mariner fans thought I was rough.
You're right there, buddy.
You're right there, man. You tripping on your words there? How much you been drinking?
Those damn hiccups again.
Oh my gosh. So what do you drink? Rios, by the way, since we haven't had a beer of the week, what are you drinking tonight?
My favorite. Paulaner Hefeweizen.
Ah, the Paulaner. Yes, that's a good one. What about you, Papa? You drinking anything or no?
No, I'm not. I actually went drinking yesterday, and I'm recovering from that. Still.
Nice. I got some LaCroix.
LaCroix. LaCroix. Get the hell out of here. Are you guys gonna watch the game tomorrow?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a definite.
Oh yeah,
I gotta do it. Well, yeah,
I think I'm doing some work. I'm gonna be getting off right as the game started. I think.
Oh, I'm off tomorrow. So yeah. I'm gonna go to Cobos to watch the game.
You're gonna go to Cobos?
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So some people from work were telling me to go to another spot to check the game after work, but I gotta see how freaking tired I am, whether or not I want to go to a bar and watch it.
Man,
dude. Work sucks, dude. Work sucks.
Sir, you're half my age. How are you so tired?
Work sucks, dude. I'm on my feet all goddamn day.
I think everybody's half your age, Riz.
I'm on to be both of y'all's dads.
Nice.
You could be, which is like frightening.
You ever been to Venezuela?
Yes.
So there you go, Papi. All right, boys. Well, like I said, we didn't get a chance to do our NFL predictions, but we're on most of the time anyway.
The Texans are going to lose. That's my prediction.
I guess, actually, you know what? We'll talk about it at the pregame show. We'll record that. But yeah, honestly, I don't see a win against the Raiders myself either. I know you love the Raiders, eh, Papi?
But, fuck the Raiders. And the Saints, for that matter.
Josh Jacobs, you're calling in now. At the game of his life.
We'll see. We'll see.
Papi has his own opinions. Reach out to him if you have any issues with that.
All right, everybody.
Everybody, thank y'all for tuning in, listening, and hanging out with us for this hour. Nonetheless, as I said earlier in the opening of the podcast, we made a change. We're going to make a change. We all 3 of us decided that it's just time for a change as far as our podcast name. We're still going to continue with the same content, our predictions. We're still obviously Texans fans. We're going to claim it and all that. Same thing, except we're just changing our podcast name. We're going to start slowly changing our podcast name. So we have our Twitter handle is finally changed. As you can see, it's at JustFans22 because our podcast will be called We're Just Fans. But it's a quote that we used to say all the time at the very beginning of our podcast. And don't get me wrong, the Texans Talking podcast is good. It's just the fact that we want to appeal to a more broader audience. So we will be changing it to the We're Just Fans podcast. New logo is coming soon. Everything's coming. But in the meantime, the only thing that has changed so far is obviously just their Twitter handle. which I'll make it bigger once this video comes out. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for joining
shout out
us.
to our 3% of fans in Germany. You're welcome, guys. I brought that audience.
It's a partner. It's a partner.
Yeah, it's the beer. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a partner.
Hey,
all right, y'all. I'll take
Alrighty, guys.
I'll take any listeners. All right, y'all. Thanks, boys, for joining me. I appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all for the pregame show later on this week. So, nonetheless, peace. Go Texans. Go Astros.
Go Astros 100%.
Sir. All right, y'all. See y'all. Bye.
Bye.